Coming up on this week's edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Beef was a big winner as the new NASCAR season got underway. We'll take you to Daytona for an inside look at a unique promotion effort. Plus, we'll outline the key policy issues NCBA is working on here in 2021.
And now, NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. I'm Russell Nemitz. Well, for racing fans, February means only one thing: Daytona, as the new NASCAR season gets underway at the legendary track in Florida. But this year had a different flavor, and that's because the Federation of State Beef Councils partnered with the Daytona International Speedway to sponsor NASCAR's season opening race, the Beef It's What's for Dinner 300. Here's a look at some of the excitement surrounding that big event.
Welcome to the Beef It's What's for Dinner 300.
So excited to be here for the Beef It's What's for Dinner 300 and representing the cattle and rancher producers across the whole United States. We will be serving up to 80 folks today in the media. So another great opportunity for the Beef It's What's for Dinner team to be able to come in and give them an awesome, nutritious, elevated beef meal today.
It's pretty exciting from a cow-calf rancher that raises calves that go to the end markets. What I can say is just the excitement of today and seeing those folks grilling and consuming beef.
Here to say the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome from Okeechobee, Florida, Chairman of the Florida Beef Council, Flint Johns.
On behalf of beef farmers and ranchers across America,
let's get this show on the road. Drivers,
start your engines.
40th annual Beef It's What's for Dinner 300 and the NASCAR Xfinity Series season is underway.
I think that Ford of Cendric is strong.
Look at them tomahawks. I want one.
And they got some beef in Victory Lane. If you don't mind, I'd love to have some of that.
Through the tri-oval, Cendric is out front.
Not bad, man! Woo! Yes! Yes! 2021, let's go!
Just real quick, are you gonna have beef for dinner?
Beef is what's for dinner. Beef's the word tonight.
And joining us now to talk more about the Beef It's What's for Dinner 300 is Oklahoma cattleman Clay Bertram, who was just recently elected chair of the Federation of State Beef Councils for NCBA. And Clay, thanks for joining us here on Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Without question, it was a great opportunity for U.S. beef to be showcased at a national event. Talk about how this partnership came to be and what it meant for the U.S. beef cattle industry.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Russell, here today. Just a huge event for us and just a great opportunity. And, you know, through this pandemic, a few years ago, this wouldn't even been possible. It would have been something that we wouldn't even have looked at through the beef checkoff. But through the event, we can't let any door be unopened. And so when this big opportunity presented itself to us, it was something we just couldn't pass up, and we needed to look at it. And as volunteer leaders, we need to make sure that we look at every single opportunity. And we really went through this with a fine-tooth comb and looked at all the details, measured some of the metrics at first, and just kind of unfolded it. And it was just an opportunity at that time that we couldn't pass up at that time.
Well, absolutely. Now, you were there on race day, and like so many others, I myself watched you wave the green flag and actually start the Beef It's What's for Dinner 300 race there on race day. Talk about that experience and what it was also like to have you and the other NCBA officers in the national spotlight.
Well, you know, Russell, we had a ground crew there, the Florida Beef Council and many, many others, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Georgia. We had many boots on the ground, volunteer people that were there, not just the officers. And we were there starting on Wednesday in the infield, letting those infield people, they were at our booth taking recipes. We were seeing beef being served in that infield at all the motorhomes and events. Beef was on the billboards on the backstretch right there front and center to see that, the big logo painted right in front of the Fox camera. Every time a car skidded across the front when the yellow came out, we were front and center. And for me personally, a NASCAR fan, just to see the energy that was there with beef being front and center, to hear the in-car radios of the guys saying, is that a cooler full of beef? What sticks are there? Is that the trophy? Hey, get me out in front of pit road. Let's get this car running, because I want that cooler full of beef. And for me personally to wave the green flag and to represent cattlemen all across the nation as a rancher and a producer and a volunteer leader in the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, just an honor to do that. And for me personally to come off of that flag stand, those guys behind us were chanting beef, 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 it's what's for dinner. And, the guy in the flag stand told me that's not normally done. You don't hear that energy. And we changed the menu at Daytona International Speedway because we are the #1 protein that's out there. So we had a dramatic impact out there. And, even the next day before the 63rd running of the Daytona 500, we were there in force, handing out recipes and making sure that beef was well heard.
What an incredible experience indeed. Now, Clay, how critical is the Beef It's What's for Dinner campaign to the ongoing success of U.S. beef producers?
This is a partnership that we had with the state beef councils, and that's what the Federation is all about, is working collaboratively with our 44 state beef council partners and everybody collaboratively working together to promote beef for every producer that pays into that dollar beef checkoff and get that $11.91 return, Russell, that we have, and work for the betterment of this industry. It's all about that consumer at the end of the line, whether you're a cow-calf producer, a stocker producer, a feedlot producer, a steed stock producer, or just the grocery store worker that's producing that wholesome, lean product that's on the shelf that we love to consume every day. That's the bottom line, is that we get that product out on the shelf and that we're all consuming that great product that we're all here to produce.
Hey, my last question for you, Clay. You're the chair of the Federation of State Beef Councils. What is this group and why is it so important to the beef industry?
The Federation of State Beef Councils is housed with NCBA, and we work with the Cattlemen's Beef Board, and we share that dollar that we all contribute every time an animal is sold. And this partnership that we did with Daytona International Speedway and sponsoring this event is just one of many projects that we work with. We also have promotion products, we have nutrition projects, research projects that we work with the Beef Promotion Operating Committee, and I am one of 19 other members that help spend that dollar each year. And that's the bottom line, is that we work together as volunteer leaders. I'm just like any other cow-calf producer out there working to betterment this industry that's out there, Russell. And it's just an honor to serve the U.S. farmers and ranchers. And this was just an honor to present beef in the center stage at this iconic event. And we look to build upon this event to do many things in the future with this checkoff dollar that we're happy to represent farmers and ranchers.
Well, we certainly thank you for joining us here on Cattlemen to Cattlemen today, and we also thank you for your service to the U.S. beef cattle industry.
Thank you, Russell, and it's an honor to serve the farmers and ranchers of the U.S. beef industry.
Now, the Daytona race wasn't the only way the beef checkoff was helping fans learn more about beef. Just ahead of race weekend, a special media event was held with celebrity chef Hugh Acheson, who offered some great beef recipes for pre-race tailgating. Here's a closer look.
But these are 3 recipes that you can get online. I'll give you the address later on. But it's a beautiful beef red chili.
To get fans ready for NASCAR's Beef It's What's for Dinner 300, the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, as a contractor to the Beef Checkoff, hosted satellite interviews with television and radio stations across the country to share beef recipes that would be great for race day tailgating.
Cook from scratch using amazing beef.
Satellite media tours really provide us with a unique opportunity to interact with local media across the country. And in this case, we got to share delicious beef race day recipes with local news viewers all over the country.
The person front and center talking about these delicious and easy to prepare recipes was celebrity chef Hugh Acheson, who is a longtime fan of beef dishes.
We worked really closely with NCBA influencer team to identify celebrity chef Hugh Acheson. He is a James Beard award-winning chef and former Top Chef judge. And Hugh Acheson had actually cooked at Daytona International Speedway before. So he was the perfect match and was really, really excited to work with us to develop some great beef recipes that would be perfect for tailgating or home gating, as so many people were in this case. So once we identified Chef Acheson as our talent, we worked with him to develop those recipes. And then from there, we designed and built the set and started pitching media all over the country to make sure we were really getting beef inspiration out to everyone.
These are amazing tacos. They are New York strip, which is kind of like Lux beef tacos. I want to cook the beef right when I need to, and then you rest it for a good 5 minutes, and then you shave it down, whether you grill it or pan roast it in. Either or, the flexibility is yours.
So it's really important for us to tap into that audience and the fans of these celebrity chefs, because the more they're sharing beef recipes with their fans, the more likely these consumers are to choose beef as their protein of choice.
It takes a team to pull off a media event like this. That included the staff from the Beef It's What's for Dinner Culinary Center, who made sure all the beef dishes were camera ready.
Our culinary staff worked with Chef Acheson to recreate his recipes, make sure everything looked exactly the way the chef wanted it. And then they helped staff the satellite media tour there in the early hours of the morning, helping us cook all of that food, switch it out, do food styling, and make sure beef can really be the star throughout the morning, and it looks absolutely perfect every time.
The media tour was a hit, and millions of people received cooking inspiration from Chef Acheson and the team at NCBA.
So on February 5th, Chef Acheson did 25 interviews with TV and radio stations across the country in a period of 5 hours. Several of those interviews aired live, and then several of them continued to air throughout the week leading up to the big race. To date, the interviews have aired more than 1,500 times, reaching an audience of more than 70 million. So NCBA, through our checkoff-funded work, has all of the resources to really put together these big projects and make an impact in promoting beef to consumers.
Amazing beef red chili.
I'm Brad Bullitt reporting for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Now, for more on these events and to see what else is being done to help promote beef, just visit beefitswhatsfordinner.com. Still ahead on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll discuss 2021 beef industry policy priorities and hear more from NCBA's new Vice President. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Cattle producers across the country work hard to care for their animals and their land. The USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service is there to help. Find out how you can work with NRCS to develop a conservation plan for your operation. Find possible funding resources for implementing conservation practices, or get free expert advice on ways to improve your farm or ranch. Visit the website nrcs.usda.gov today.
We didn't just design the 6M tractors with you in mind. We designed them with you by our side. The new 6M tractors from John Deere, reimagined by you, for you. With improved visibility, better maneuverability, and more ways to customize, so you get everything you need and nothing you don't. Experience the new 6M at your local John Deere dealer.
The 2021 beef industry policy priorities are in place thanks to the work done at the cattle industry winter business meeting earlier in February. We have an update on those policy priorities in this week's Beltway Beef Spotlight.
Following our successful policy meetings earlier in February, your government affairs team here in Washington, D.C. now has a new set of policy priorities for 2021. Given all the changes in Washington, it's going to be critical to get your voice in front of all of the new faces here in our nation's capital, whether it's parts of the Biden administration, new leadership at the United States Department of Agriculture, Department of Interior, EPA, or in the 117th Congress. We'll be spending our time here in Washington focusing on a number of issues important to your operations, all of them with a focus on increasing opportunities for profitability for cow-calf producers, feedlot operators, and others throughout the value chain. Starting with ensuring additional response to COVID-19 and making sure that we survive these last few months of this pandemic intact and with our supply chain continuing to process beef and getting it to store shelves around the country. We'll also continue to focus on climate and sustainability. As everyone knows, this has been a big priority of the new administration. We're going to be hearing about it a lot, and we want to make sure that cattle producers' voices are front and center in that conversation, advocating for the strong work our producers do on a daily basis to deliver the best beef in the world with the lowest environmental footprint. We'll also continue to work aggressively on the business climate for beef, whether that's working on fake meat and making sure that those labeling challenges we've been working on over the last couple years don't continue to malign our product by marketing next to them in the meat case, with consumers being confused about what's in the package. We'll also continue to work on expanding processing capacity, looking for ways to work with Capitol Hill to make sure that we have resources available for small producer-owned facilities and small state-owned facilities so that we can get that hook space that we need to continue to be successful. We're going to continue as well to aggressively push on cattle markets and price discovery issues. That's been a big focus for NCBA and will continue to into the next few years. Additionally, we're going to be working a lot on regulatory continuity. And what do I mean when I say that? Over the last few years, we've made a lot of progress on the regulatory front, whether it's the Navigable Waters Protection Rule that replaced WOTUS, whether it was the comprehensive rewrites of things like the Endangered Species Act or the National Environmental Policy Act, or the critical delisting in the lower 48 states of the gray wolf. We'll be intently focused on trying to maintain a lot of these wins over the next couple years and working with the new administration to help them understand how much progress has been made and making sure that we don't backslide in some of these areas. We're looking forward to engaging on these priorities on your behalf in the new year, and we look forward to working with you to accomplish this list and another list of green check marks moving into next year for America's cattle producers.
Joining us now to share additional insight into the 2021 beef industry policy priorities is South Dakota cattleman Todd Wilkinson. He's the newly elected vice president of NCBA. Todd, sustainability is one of the top issues for NCBA over the coming year. Why is it so important that our industry engage in this issue?
Well, Kevin, unless somebody has been living in Iraq for the last few weeks, the Biden administration has made a priority climate. And while that's always been a focus for NCBA and our producers, it's even more important now that we talk about the science that's on our support or in face of the issues that are out there. You know, we hear all the bad things, but we got a good story to tell, and we can bring science to bear and wear the white hat in this conversation.
You know, it's not just about the government and policy priorities, it's also about the consumer. How important is consumer confidence in the sustainability of the beef industry to our very future?
Well, it's the consumer confidence that I, as a producer, pay more attention to, frankly, than what the government is indicating, because you know, our job is to sell a product, and we want that consumer to understand where their beef comes from, to have confidence that their beef is raised in a sound manner, and to really grasp all the good things that come out of beef production. And that consumer can rest assured that beef production is really one of the good stories out there, and that we're a solution to climate change and the whole sustainability issue. It's not very often that you get to talk about things that are a solution rather than a problem. And the fact that we can toot our own horn and talk about the positive things that beef production does to the ground, the soil, and producing a product that's delicious and good for everybody. That's a great message.
As you mentioned, the beef industry really does have a great story to tell. After all, we are the original upcyclers and the original plant-based protein, so to speak. So Todd, what opportunities does that present to our industry?
Well, and to pick it up right where you were talking about, Kevin, that the upcycling message is amazing. You can take that cow out there, and I know how that cow is going to go out and graze on that forage, and for all intents and purposes, a lot of the ground that our cattle are grazing on across the country is not able to be farmed or broken up. That cow goes out there and digests that plant-based product and converts that carbon, and we end up with a product that the consumer can understand is really the circle of life. I mean, too often we forget that we talk about greenhouse emissions and we talk about all the other issues, but methane is just a product of nature. It's no different than it was 200 years ago when there were millions of buffalo roaming across the area that I live. And we actually have less cattle right now than we did buffalo a couple of hundred years ago. We're producing no more methane. And the other thing, there's some key facts out there, and I just wish people would listen to them a little bit. The cow herd today is a third less than it was in the 70s, and yet we're producing the same amount of beef as we were on a third less animals. If that's not a great story, and if that's not a hats off to the genetic producers across and the seed stock operators across this country, I don't know what is. The American rancher and farmer is nature's answer to environmentalism, because they do it for a living and they produce a product that fits all of those niches.
So Todd, can you tell us specifically how NCBA is working with farmers and ranchers and other industry stakeholders to share the message of beef industry sustainability?
Well, we're of course working with the Global Roundtable. We're also working with our environmental working group, which is made up of producers from across the country. Cow-calf operators, seed stock operators, finishing facilities, backgrounding facilities. Everybody's kind of coming together and working to address this. We have the answer. We just need to be able to convey it to the consumer in a method that they understand. I can get people lost in the weeds a bit, and I try not to when I talk about something like GWP star. That's a new method of measuring methane and greenhouse gas emissions. And it's probably the most accurate method of measuring those things. And when you look at that science, when you actually look at that new measurement, we don't have a greenhouse emission problem. The methane today is no more than it was 10 years ago from livestock production, and it simply recycles back into the carbon. And we just need to get the measurements understood by the public. They are generally accepted already by science, and we need to get that out to that consumer, because when they hear that burger or that steak that they're eating is a positive to the environment, that just makes that experience all the better.
And, we spent a lot of time talking about the live cattle segment of sustainability, but in reality, sustainability touches all parts of the beef supply chain. Todd, why do you think it's so important to have an organization like NCBA who can address and represent each element of the beef industry supply chain from gate all the way to plate?
Well, and Kevin, I think you bring up a perfect point, because all too often our industry, the cattle industry, seems to focus on one facet. Well, you can't look at sustainability as an issue for just the cow-calf producer. You can't look at it for an issue of just the packer or just the feeder. It really goes through that entire cycle. So that retailer has to be sitting there with us in the discussion. That feeding facility has to be part of it. The cow-calf producer certainly has to be part of it. When you put all the pieces together, that's where that circle of life, and that's where the message comes from. Because if we just focus, as too often this industry does, on just a segment, you can't get the public the honest answer. And the honest answer is we're the solution to the greenhouse emission issue for much of agriculture. And we've just got to put that image out there and tell that message because, hey, we got a wonderful product and we got the best message to tell. And again, I'll go back to the way I started. I love to wear my white hat and be able to talk about the positive things that this beef industry can do for all of us.
Thanks, Todd, for your time and your leadership for our organization. I'm sure we'll visit with you more throughout the year. Now, to keep up to date on all of NCBA's efforts and to help make a difference in your industry, why not join Todd as a member of NCBA? It's easy to do. Just call 866-233-3872, or you can visit the website ncba.org. Up next, we'll dive deeper into NCBA's policymaking process and show how producers from all across the country engage to set NCBA's policy. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
For commercial cow-calf producers, crossbreeding with Gelbvieh and Balancer is the smart, reliable, and profitable choice. Gelbvieh and Balancer females offer maternal superiority through increased fertility, greater longevity, and more pounds of calf weaned per cow exposed. In the feed yard, Balancer cattle deliver increased performance, improved feed efficiency, and excellent carcass merit. Balancer adds the pounds, make the grade, and deliver the value. Gelbvieh and Balancer, the smart, reliable, and profitable choice. Find out more at the website gelbvieh.org.
It can be tough to keep up with all the issues that impact the beef cattle business. That's why NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen is dedicated to bringing you valuable news, information, and education. The goal is to give you the knowledge you need to make the best decisions for your operation. So if you're looking for in-depth coverage of the beef industry and the issues that matter to you, don't miss Cattlemen to Cattlemen, debuting every week on RFD TV and on YouTube.
Welcome back to Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Well, we've been talking about this year's top policy priorities for the beef industry. Now, NCBA takes a lot of pride in being an organization where those policy discussions begin at the state and even the county level. Cattlemen to Cattlemen reporter Brian Baxter introduces us to the Wyoming cattlemen who will help lead this important process.
Wyoming's King Ranch is a cow-calf and yearling operation where Mark Isley serves as general partner and manager, working alongside his family.
My daughters are involved. My son is involved. My son-in-law has come back to work with us full-time. He has cattle and equipment. It's really a wonderful thing. When you can work with family and it's good, it's great. We are both private and public lands. We run on the National Forest. It's about 8,600 foot elevation. That has its challenges in itself. We run red and black Angus cattle. They go into branded programs. We're an agent source, and we also are BQA producers. So I practice what I preach and also what I've learned in our trade shows and all of our podcasts. It's great stuff. Anybody who doesn't take advantage of it is really missing out.
Mark has spent a lifetime in the cattle business and is a longtime member of both the Wyoming Stock Growers and NCBA. In 2021, he's serving in a national leadership role, chairing NCBA's policy division.
I am excited about everything involving my job as the new policy chairman. There are so many things for us to do and so many challenges for us to meet. Sometimes I don't know where to start, but it's like eating elephants. You just take a bite and keep working through it till you get it whipped. Let's get one thing straight about NCBA policy. It is driven from the grassroots up. It can be an individual. They can work it up through their state association or bring it to us directly through the proper committee channels. If it moves forward and we don't have a conflicting policy or policy that already covers that area, then we go ahead and march forward. That's our marching orders, and that's what we'll do our best. Whether it's a policy or a directive, we will work. And when I say we, that means both the officer team, the leadership, and the staff. And we work out in front, and staff gives us support. It's a very wonderful team that has been put together, and I'm excited about the possibilities.
While there's never a shortage of work on a ranch, Mark firmly believes cattle producers around the country need to get involved and work together to influence policies at the state and national level.
I represent everybody on policy, but so whatever their concerns are, those are my concerns. We're going to have our challenges, and we need to stay engaged, whether it's at your county level, your state legislature, regionally, or even nationally. We're going to have our challenges in D.C., and I say that NCBA and staff. Leadership has done a lot of reaching out. We've already established a lot of those relationships. We're making sure we're reassessing those and making sure that it's putting us in a good position with all the things that are involved: marketing, international trade, global beef demand, regional issues, anything you can think. You need to participate. If you can't physically participate, join and keep us informed and give us some feedback. That's why we're here, is to work with and improve your business climate as a producer.
Mark says he values the fact that while he's home feeding cattle, there's a professional staff in place pursuing the policies that NCBA members have set as their priorities. I'm Brian Baxter reporting for Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
If you'd like to stay up to date on all of the key issues and events from Washington, D.C., one way is by becoming a member of NCBA. And that's because when you join, you'll receive the Beltway Beef newsletter, a weekly update straight from our nation's capital that provides valuable insights on the key policy initiatives that may impact your business. To join, just call 1-866-233-3872 or visit the website ncba.org. Next on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll head to South Dakota for a look at a program that's meant to educate and encourage the next generation of cattle feeders. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Grass is the center of our universe. We've got to have a grass program that we can count on and plan on. That's what we need to sustain us, to keep us growing, to keep us prospering.
Are you concerned about the impact government policies could have on your cattle business? One way to make your voice heard in Washington is by joining NCBA. When you join, you'll have access to key policy updates and insights from Beltway Beef. It's the best way to hear directly from NCBA's DC team. Beltway Beef provides valuable policy information, and it's free for NCBA members. Stay in touch with Beltway Beef. Join now at ncba.org.
Well, developing the next generation of cattle producers is critical to the long-term viability of the beef industry. In South Dakota, the Cattlemen's Foundation recognized a need to help encourage young producers who have an interest in the cattle feeding sector. Cattlemen to Cattlemen's Kevin Ochsner has the story.
The South Dakota Cattlemen's Foundation was formed as a way to ensure the long-term viability of South Dakota's beef industry.
Well, the purpose of the South Dakota Cattlemen's Foundation is first and foremost to promote the industry and the mission of our ranchers and producers across the state of South Dakota.
Keeping the industry viable is critical not only locally for producers, but as we take a look at global beef production and the demand for our product, it's really important to have that future secured. So the mission of the foundation is really twofold, both being in education. Educating the consumer that we can have a discussion here locally with, as well as educating the next generation of beef producers in our state. And really both of those metrics we feel like are going to help ensure the viability of our industry long term. We've also have a very vibrant education committee. Those folks, we provide 5 scholarships annually, totaling $15,000 for local students. And then a new component to our education committee is the Fed Cattle Challenge, in which high school and college age students are able to actually physically own cattle in a feed yard and then compete in an educational opportunity for a cash award in that as well.
Starting the Fed Cattle Challenge was not only a way to introduce the next generation of cattle producers to the science and economics of finishing cattle through hands-on participation, but also to help build a stronger fed cattle industry in South Dakota.
The percentage of cattle that are raised in South Dakota versus the ones that are fed here seems to be disproportionately low. If we want to change that, if we want to change that culture and the economic impact that it has in South Dakota, we have to start with better training and creating a culture where that becomes a part of our knowledge base and something that we learn at an early age.
We really want to build up that feeding industry in the state of South Dakota, and it's a need that I think the industry in our state has identified and been working on, but it's a little bit challenging. We have some really good things going on in our state that are favorable to cattle feeding, in that we have a relatively low corn basis. We've got farmer feeders who have basically a captive feed supply, and they need to market that feed through cattle. And so in order to do that, we need people who understand the cattle business end of it so that they can take that pen of cattle, get them to gain and grow and finish and be marketable at the end point. And at the same point in time, we want them to be profitable so they can stay in the business, right? And so we thought that this was a really great way to do that.
I think the next generation is obviously very important in South Dakota because we are so sparsely populated outside of 3 or 4 metro areas. And I use the metro area term pretty loosely. And so to keep our industry vibrant and to keep our industry viable in South Dakota is obviously the most important thing to cattle production, but we also really see it as a huge benefit to community survival in a very rural state.
Participants in the Fed Cattle Challenge had ownership of 3 head of cattle and were given an in-depth look at all aspects of the cattle feeding industry.
We wanted to be able to give young people the experience of looking at what it takes to really run a feed yard and all of the things that they have to take into consideration when they're doing that, because we really want to generate the next generation of feedlot owners and operators, because when you look at the people who are willing to do that, I think that pool is relatively small. And then the knowledge, where do they get that really to start into it? And so all of the students that were in the program owned 3 head of cattle in that particular feedlot pen. And so then they got the billing information every couple of weeks to look at and see, this is what it really takes to own these cattle, and these are the management things that we have to think about. You know, we've had students who have maybe a little bit of cow-calf experience or maybe some really limited feeding experience. And so this was able to really give them a broader picture of what the industry looks like. And I think that that was extremely valuable to them. And again, having that experience on their resume for those feedlot owners and operators as they go looking for help, I think will be really a great thing for those students.
At the conclusion of the program, awards were given to the top 4 participants during the South Dakota Cattlemen's Foundation Primetime Gala. Interest from the industry has been positive and will keep the program going strong.
The response to the project has been fantastic, and we asked those students when they were done to give us a little bit of feedback to see if we needed to change direction a little bit or what things that we could refine and do better. And the feedback was just really excellent, that they thought that having that money up front and that stake in the game really made it very real for them. And so that was a really positive thing. And our response by the feedlot owners and managers in the state has also been fantastic. They love to see that there's students who are taking an interest, who are going to have some real world experience, who are going to have a little bit better knowledge of, oh wow, this this is what it takes to manage all of that.
It's great that there's this much excitement and enthusiasm in year 5, but I know that we're building a longer legacy behind this, something that we see multi-generation in the future.
From South Dakota, I'm Kevin Ochsner, reporting for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Well, do you want to rewatch an episode of Cattlemen to Cattlemen or even catch up on anything you've missed? Then visit and subscribe to our YouTube page. It's there you'll find replays of all of our shows, jam-packed with educational segments as well as producer profiles from across the country. And you can watch anytime you like. Visit youtube.com/Cattlemen to Cattlemen to check it out. When we return, it's time to check in with the one and only Baxter Black. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
That certain time in the day when you can take a deep breath, knowing your work is done. That's the feeling Aspen products can create. Cost-effective alternatives to name brands that deliver the same results. Qualaxin is one of them. Use it to prevent and treat respiratory disease in your herd. Then breathe easy. Find them at Animal Health International.
If you'd like to know more about NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen and have an opportunity to support our effort to create valuable news, information, and education just for cattle producers, then check out our website, cattlementocattlemen.org.
Out of the box for the Rewrite Side of Rodeo. 3 audio books, rodeo novels by Baxter Black. A total of 23 hours following our cowboy guys and gals on the road to the finals. Rambunctious, exciting, kind-hearted, and funny, of course. $39.90. CDs or downloads, BaxterBlack.com. 800-654-2550. On the road to the rodeo, horse show, state fair, ball game, or grandma's house, climb on up and take a ride with me.
Did you know that Prefert makes over 1,000 different farm, ranch, and rodeo items? And now, thanks to Prefert Direct, it's easier than ever before to get access to every item Prefert makes delivered direct to your local dealer. For more information about Prefert Direct, visit us at Prefert.com. Prefert, America's #1 name in farm, ranch, and rodeo.
The market was so hot on Monday, the buyers were burning his door. The cattle he'd bought for 70 cents were bringing 6 bits, maybe more. And on Tuesday, they went even higher. And it was hard not to sell at that price, but he knew in his heart that tomorrow he'd win. He was rolling the dice. And on Wednesday, they went through the ceiling. He'd never seen fats go so high, but that afternoon, they were slipping. But that never worried our guy, because his broker and banker and guru had predicted the downslide was done. So at 10 o'clock that Thursday morning, our hero turned down 81. No way. Well, Friday broke dismal and dreary, and the market continued to fall, and he watched it go down to break even. Not even one buyer called, and that weekend, consulting the paper, his horoscope promised good news. That was sure worth a drink at the Elks Club, and he got snockered plumb out of his shoes. And Monday was gloomy, and Tuesday was bad, and the rest of the week he was cursed. And by Friday, the price of grain jumped up, and that just made him feel worse. And by midweek, he finally was offered a sure bid of 65 cents. But he held fast at $65.50. So the buyer packed up and went. Now I know you're expecting a moral, explaining the lessons he learned about the man who thinks higher and higher, most likely gets his lower burned. But there ain't no use to pretend that a feeder, or one of their kind, would lock in a profit of 8 cents if he thought he could hold out for 9. And what of our hero, you're asking? Well, I guess I can tell you about that. He sold them for $62.50 and got docked for being too fat. This is Baxter Black from out there.
CattleCon 2021 is back in the Music City. Tune in to Tennessee for the cattle industry's biggest convention, with education, networking, and fun, not to mention some great tunes. Plus, you can check out the huge NCBA trade show, outstanding entertainment, and much, much more. So make your plans and be there for CattleCon 2021. Stay tuned to convention.ncba.org for all the details.
You have an upcoming production sale to advertise? Then contact the Cattlemen to Cattlemen marketing team or your breed association to learn more.
Welcome back to Cattlemen to Cattlemen. You know, NCBA works every day to help create opportunities for long-term success for cattle producers, but the organization's success depends on a strong membership base. We asked NCBA President Jerry Bone why involvement and membership at both the state and national level is so important for all cattle producers.
Members of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association represent a broad spectrum of the businesses across the industry. We work for cow-calf producers, we work for purebred producers, we work for stocker operators, we work for cattle feeders. We work with all of those that have a hand in producing beef and getting it from the pasture to the consumer's plate. Being a member of National Cattlemen's Beef Association is extremely important. When we go back to Washington, D.C., for instance, if we can speak with the voice of 25,000 members, that's important. But if we could speak with the voice of 50,000 members, that's even more important, because that gets the ear of those congressmen and those staffers back there that are making the laws and the regulations. And so being a member of NCBA is vastly important for the industry, and I would strongly recommend and encourage everyone that's involved that has a beef animal ought to be a member.
And as a way to help encourage membership and even promote beef, NCBA worked with state cattlemen's associations on a fun competition called the Tailgate Tournament. The contest was open to folks who were members of NCBA and their state cattlemen's associations. Contestants submitted a video of their favorite tailgating recipe, and the winner and their state association would get a brand new Traeger grill. Here's a taste of the winning entry from Alabama.
Hi everybody, I'm Mason Smith. And I'm Mackenzie Smith. And we're from Strawberry Cattle Company in North Alabama. And today we're going to be making a delicious tailgate treat. Slow cooked brisket and white sauce. Now we're going to take our brisket and put it in our crock pot. And let it sit on low for 8 to 10 hours. That looks really good. Now we're going to show you how tender our brisket is with the fork test. It splits right apart. delicious. Beef, it's what's for dinner.
Now, another reason to become an NCBA member is the chance to read the National Cattlemen. It's the official publication of NCBA and provides timely news as well as articles about the issues and events affecting the beef industry. A subscription is included free of charge when you become a member. Just call 1-866-233-3872 or visit the website ncba.org. Well, we're wrapping up this week's show with legacy photos. These, of course, are great shots taken on our farms and ranches across the country. Do you want to see your photo on Cattlemen to Cattlemen? Well, you can submit your favorite shots a couple of different ways. Just message them to us on the Cattlemen to Cattlemen Facebook page or email them to c2c@beef.org. Send them our way and we just may use them on a future episode. Well, that wraps up this edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Thank you so much for spending time with us, and we'll see you again next week right here on RFD TV.